Good morning. Welcome. I was sitting here talking to myself for about 5 minutes before I realized I forgot to hit live. So, my apologies. Good morning, Stanley. Lovely to see you. Good morning, Rowdy Riles. Welcome. And we've got a couple members in the chat. So luckily, Andrew is not here to be annoyed because you know how we have to welcome our members.
Bring out the off. Bring out the off. Bring out the off.
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
And rest assured, I did do the little tossing of the champagne into the Nile, even though I'm not on camera. Oh, Andrew, just in time. So one is out of the way, but hello, Mint with Card, also a member. So you know what we're gonna do.
Bring out the off. Bring out the off. Bring out the off.
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
And there we go. Welcome all. It's lovely to see everyone this morning. For the 5 minutes I thought I was like talking to myself, I was thanking you all for showing up today and forgiving me for taking last week off to go to Portland. It was my friend's birthday last weekend, and he wanted to go see John Waters, and we did. And it was amazing. John Waters, though, is always amazing. He's one of my favorite filmmakers, and apparently he released a book I was not aware. So anyway, I ordered it. It should be here next week. Obviously not something I would cover on the channel. If I ever start my Gen X book club book channel I want to do, I feel like John Waters would fit there. So we're going to be today, again, this DC Supervillains coloring book. Last time we worked on this, I started Man Bat, and we got about 60% of the way through, so we're going to try to finish them today. And as always, when we do live streams anyway, I like to use the Black Widows. So yeah, we're just going to work on Man Bat. We're going to chat. If we finish Man Bat, because it's possible, there's not that much left. Trying to remember who it was, but there's another page in here I thought might be cool to work on today. We're not really close to finishing this book, but I'm almost out of pages I think would be fun to do on live streams. Today Man Bat, and then the other one we'll work on if I finish them in time is Gorilla Grodd. There's a cool Gorilla Grodd page in here. And then next time we do this book, I'll start on, there is a really cool, we'll flip to it really quick while my brain, the coffee is still coffeeing. Let me find the page. So there's this cool Gigantus Starro double page spread. So this will be, next time we do a brand new page, at the beginning of the stream, we'll work on this. And then after this, we'll do a whip where I finish anything left that we've started on stream, and then after that I'll pick a new book for live streams. So I've got that other DC book that I had last week when Tony was here that might be fun to work on, or something else cool will pop up. So I've got so many cool things that I could, that we could have here while we chat. Oh, nice. It could be cool that he's differently colored. Just putting a little extra of some browns in here. I'm going to go with overall here, we're going to do something a little bit more fleshy. It was pretty light and just sort of trying to get colored down when we wrapped this up last time because I wanted sort of my base layer. And I had picked out something specific and I felt pretty confident I would not remember what the thought process was. So, not that I couldn't have like written it down and stuck it in the book, but yeah. Anyway, how was everyone's Thanksgiving? Because, yeah, we've had Thanksgiving. If you celebrate, not everyone does. Because not everyone's here in the United States. Some of y'all, Andrew, are in Canada. And you guys have Canadian Thanksgiving at a different time of year. So, we actually did a turkey this year. We don't usually do turkey. We usually do a ham and then turkey for Christmas. But this year I did a turkey. And we are still in the leftover phase. Although we're almost to the end. I harvested the rest of the meat from the bird. And then sort of diced it up and threw it in a skillet with some peppers and onions and mushrooms and some fajita seasoning, and then used the last of the Velveeta from the cheese that I had from the cheese grits I did for Thanksgiving, and threw those in the crock pot with some rotel tomatoes, just like my grandma used to do, and made some cheesy dip, and then we just threw that on top of tortilla chips. It was pretty easy, but gotta make that food budget stretch, you know. Food is expensive these days, so it's my last block of Velveeta. There was a sale about a year ago, and Velveeta may not last a lot longer than say regular cheese. So there's like a sale, like 5 for $10 or something, about a year ago at one of our grocery stores. So I loaded up. It's the last of the 5 blocks because anytime I go to a potluck, I just throw a couple cans of rotel and some Velveeta in the crock pot and then take that. And people act like you have done something miraculously and magical when you bring spicy queso dip. It's really just Velveeta and tomatoes. So it's funny, my grandma was she was a Sunday school teacher, so she has all of these like back of the box casseroles. And she's been gone for, see, it's 2025, so she's been gone for about 4 years now. And I still have ladies from her church who will ping me to get some of her back of the box recipes because so and so is having surgery or there's a funeral or whatever, and they want. My grandma used to make these sausage balls, so they'll be like, "Do you have the recipe for your grandma's balls?" And it's like, "Yep, I do." Grandma loved how much everyone loved her balls, so because you know. Excellent, good to hear, Stanley. Like, I'm over here. I think most of you who have been to like say Retro Cavalcade sort of know the setup. So over here, and then the computer is over there. So your comments are over that way. So I have to kind of look over my shoulder. So I don't do the setup like when I color with a guest. I don't have as much space over there. That's still kind of temporary while I get everything set up. I don't know if anyone, I know a few of you watched. I did release, well, it went out early for members, but I did a Everything I Opened in November video. And I'm going to keep doing those while I open up all this old stuff for the displays. And I think the first few minutes I'll do each month when I drop it, I'll do a little bit of the progress of what the studio looks like and where we are with the shelves and stuff. After the stream today, I am going to put some more shelves together and at least get all of the DC Comics and Marvel stuff in the same area, in like the right area. Probably not set up today, but close. And so the setting up of the Star Wars collection is sort of what I'm trying to do now, and there's just so much. I have literally been collecting Star Wars since 1978. I've got the boxes and boxes of toys to prove it. But I've also been working on a Power of the Force 2 video, so a lot of my focus has been Power of the Force. That should be out in a week or two. It just takes a while because I'm trying to, have some production value to it. So we'll see. But it will be up at some point before the end of the month. And then I have a couple She-Ra toy videos that will hit this month about vintage She-Ra. So staying busy, which is good at this time of year. Yeah, it wasn't full tradition. I did do Watergate salad this year, which I know people make fun of. I have made fun of it in the past. Because it sounds pretty gross. It's like pistachio pudding mix with crushed pineapple, mini marshmallows, Cool Whip, maraschino cherries, and walnuts. And it sounds pretty gnarly. And it's something my grandma made as a kid. I would eat it, and then I hit a certain age where I'm like, oh my god, that sounds disgusting. And I just went ahead and made it. Somebody was making fun of it on, I think, TikTok. And it clicked for me that a lot about it it's kind of like a struggle meal. Like a lot of the stuff I grew up with, because my family was not wealthy by any stretch of the mind. My dad had a few really good years in the 80s where like we lived, sort of like Euro trash and had had the flag and all the things. But that was not most of our lives. So we had a lot of struggle meals, and it kind of clicked that it was a struggle meal, and a lot of the stuff that go into the, like the pistachio pudding, it's like instant pudding mix. Cool Whip obviously is a cheaper, easier way to, time saver from making your own whipped cream. And it just sort of clicks. Like a lot of the stuff we make fun of from like these Jello mold mills and stuff, it was all about sort of sustainability, stretching your grocery budget. Like fresh vegetables can go bad, but if you encase them in Jello, they last a lot longer. And it's not, like sometimes they would use like lime or lemon Jello, but for the most part, it was just like flavorless gelatin. So it's not like it was. I think most of us are just now used to, Jello, with the fruit flavors over here. It's encased in Jello, and we think, oh, it's like strawberry or whatever. And usually it's just flavorless gelatin. There are a few that use lemon or lime, but I feel like lemon and lime are sort of neutral enough. Anyway, if I ever start a separate cooking channel, it will be all about gelatin and struggle meals. We will survive being the poorest together, y'all. So. Oh, well, Alex, quick, I've got to tell you something.
Bring out the Bring out the Bring out the
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
But also, sorry about that. Sorry about not getting to go to the comic book shop. Yeah, some people have called me a hoarder my whole life, but as I set up this kick-ass studio and put everything in these shelves, a lot of people are gonna have to eat crow. I think we still say, is that like, I think that's, you're right. Well, they can eat shit basically because finally, it's not hoarding. It's my whole like thing for years. It's like, no. One day I'll have a place and I can display all this, and they're like, that'll never happen. So anyway, just a long way of saying spite is really good. Like, be a little spiteful. Send those people pictures of your collection once you have it all set up and be like, remember that time? Sorry your husband left you. Of course, that would be, mean because I'm not sorry, so that would be a lie. Her husband should have left her a long time ago. In the case of my aunt, she hasn't had a husband in like 50 years almost now. She did not like it the time we got into an argument. I'm like, yeah, you haven't been lovable in almost 50 years. Did not appreciate that, but whatever, That's what she gets. All right, add a little bit. This light brown in there. She is gonna watch my YouTube channel one of these days. I'm gonna get an angry series of messages. And we love that for her. Yeah, I mean, there are times where, like, there was this one time I had this stupid job that I hated. But my coworker was like, you will never last at this job longer than a month. So she quit after 3 years. So I made it 4 months longer than she did. And there were a couple of days where the money was good. So it wasn't like, it was in a terrible dead end job or something like that. I mean, it was a dead end job, but I was making good money. But I lasted a lot longer in that job than I would have otherwise, just because out of spite, I was not going to let her be right. And then I was like, I'm just going to outlast you. So, and that one was hard because she was a terrible person and she kept doing all this stuff that could have gotten her fired. So it was really hard not to report her for the stuff to get her fired, but I felt like that would be cheating. I wanted to outlast her, not because I told on her, but because either she got caught, and she never got caught for any of, after she left, I was like, I should do an accounting on her records. And then we found a bunch of the stuff she'd been messing up and doing wrong. So, but I never routed her out because, like I said, that felt like it would have been cheating. And I didn't have like direct proof. So like it would have just been, if they had chosen not to believe me, which they often would side with her whenever she was starting nonsense. So. All right. Yeah, everyone should do stuff out of spite. Like, you know, sometimes survival is all about spite. Never let the a-hole win. Speaking of comics, I bought comics when I was in Portland. I got Absolute Wonder Woman. Just the first 2 issues. There's like a collection, but I was like, I don't want to spend almost $20 and then it not be good, so I'll spend like, I think it was like $8 for the first 2 issues. I liked it. I was confused, and then I think it was Alex, actually. Alex was the one who helped me understand that it's set in an alternate reality where Darkseid was born on Earth or something, so like Earth is darker, and that made it easier because I don't like dark, edgy Wonder Woman. But what was really weird is I've read a couple of issues of the Tom King Wonder Woman, and I don't like his version of Wonder Woman. I did like, he redid Wonder Woman's old villain, the Mouse Man, who is a cheesy villain from like the 60s. He's a tiny man who dresses like a mouse. And he had some sort of like machine that gave him like the ability to control mice, but that was it. That was one of her biggest villains of like the 60s. Kind of ridiculous, but I always liked him because he was kind of ridiculous. And it's just nice that, you know, there was a time where the cheetah was not Wonder Woman's only villain, and everyone kept bringing it, or like different versions of the Silver Swan or whatever. Silver Swan, well, it's a relatively new villain. She wasn't introduced until like 81, 82. So, but I like the Tom King's version of Mouse Man. I don't like his Wonder Woman. But with Absolute Wonder Woman, I'm like, I don't like that it's so dark and edgy, but I really like how they're like Wonder Woman. She feels like Wonder Woman in it, despite the dark edginess of it. And so that was, so I'm gonna pick up the trade collection of Absolute Wonder Woman that's out and read the whole first story. But and then I was on Lanterns Live with Ralph talking about Green Lantern. It's right here. Green Lantern Far Sector, which I really liked. I thought it was really good. So it's a couple of years old now. Everyone else has probably read it. But if you haven't, it was good. And so I'm going to start picking up comic books again. Probably not single issues because I just, I don't really have space for that. But they will have to be physical because I have a hard time reading digital comics. I've had a hard time reading digital books as well. Like, my brain doesn't absorb them quite the same as they do when I'm actually looking at it printed on paper. I can do some research with, you know, written stuff. But for like fiction or a comic book, I need the actual physical item. So, anyway. Seems apropos to talk comic books while we work on Man Bat. Yeah, that's the problem is there aren't any local comic book shops in sort of the area where we live. There are, a couple really good ones in Portland. My favorite is Excalibur, which has been around since 1974 and is still family owned and operated by the same family. They were my local comic book shop for a really long time when I lived in Portland, up until I stopped reading comics for a while. And then there's another store called Cosmic Monkey that's really good. So there are two really good comic book shops in Portland. And ironically, of course, I don't live there anymore, but I drive up enough. And also Excalibur, Debbie, who is the current sort of owner, manager, and I chatted last time I went in there. And they will send me comics if I, call her and set it up and pay for it and stuff. They'll mail it to me. So I think I'm going to do that so I can support a small business rather than just getting everything through Amazon and having it shipped. Because how you spend your money makes a difference, especially with comic book shops. So, anyway. But yeah, so I need to have to go back up there in a couple weeks for Christmas stuff. Our company Christmas dinner will be up there, and one of my good friends is having her annual solstice party. So I will be back up there, and I'll have a little extra time. It won't be quite as quick of a trip as it was for my friend's birthday and John Waters. So I'll pop into Excalibur and chat with Debbie and see if I can get some sort of shipping stuff set up. Portland is pretty good. I know, sort of the media right now has this weird narrative where it's it's a city. All cities have issues. I live in a small rural area now, but even here there are issues. No place is without its problems. I do know that the media seems to be notching up what's going on in Portland in a really weird way, trying to talk about it like it's some sort of wasteland, and it's really not. A lot of downtown Portland is kind of empty now, and businesses aren't down there, but it has nothing to do with crime or the homeless. It's because these big corporations keep moving in and buying up all the property and then making it too expensive for businesses to stay in business down there. And there's not a lot of retail areas in Portland are completely expensive anyway. So a lot of these businesses that are older are just choosing to go out of business. And some of them are places like Macy's and, these big stores that, retail itself is pretty difficult right now. So, there are a lot of factors. Very little of it has to do with whatever narrative is going on in the media. Are there homeless people in Portland? Yes. Can they be annoying? Yes. Are they sometimes dangerous? Yes. But I quite frankly have felt as much danger from people who have houses and drive cars and almost run you over in crosswalks Way more of that than I ever have in all the years I lived in Portland from the homeless population. And some people just want to, I think, find somebody to blame for what's wrong rather than admit that, you know, the rent is too high. Oh yeah, that brown is looking good. Oh yeah, all right, and the shading on the wings is also pretty good. So. Oh, we're almost to the point, guys, where I will have the new chair will get set up so that I don't have this old squeaky one. But I'm saving that. Also, I have to unbury it. It got put in a stack of boxes, and it's at the back of those. And I'm trying not to move stuff around right now till I get to more stuff because that creates more of a clutter for me to deal with. Right now, it's like this stack of boxes is my focus. So. But soon there will be a new chair. Which will make Kenzo very happy. So there we go. Looking good, man. That. Need to figure out what color I want to do his talons, his claws, his fingernails. They're usually black, like in comics. Or like a light brown, maybe? I should look it up. Or I should just take artistic liberty and do what I think what I think will look best. Oh, hello, Tony. Welcome. Lovely to see you. Yeah, I think for the most part it's fine. There are always bad apples. So, hello, Ria. Welcome. Lovely to see you today. Technically it's not morning, but sort of still morning here. So, 20 more minutes before it's lunchtime here. We're still in the brunch hour, so good morning is good. There we go. Yeah, I think we're gonna do like an orange or a yellow for his fingernails. Make them a little crusty looking. Yeah, here we are. That looks pretty good. Yeah, so yeah, it's afternoon there. So that's fair. So all of those who celebrate a good afternoon. Yeah, I mean technically it's stretching it even here right now. I think Hawaii is right now the only place left in the United States, or North America for that matter, where you could legitimately get away with still saying good morning. It's like 3 a.m. over there tomorrow. Because they're a little bit ahead of us, I think. Yeah, I think they're ahead. No, maybe not. Maybe they're behind. I always get confused where the cutoff is, because I know, like, in Australia, it's tomorrow. I can't remember if Hawaii is part of that, or if they're still on our time. I think they're on our day. God, that's a weird the semantics around that are not easy. I mean, I could just Google what time is it in Hawaii and it would tell me. But, you know, whatever. It's early, whatever time it is. Actually, they are on the same. So, yeah, today it's still Sunday there. So, remember, I have a friend who still lives there. And I would tell her happy birthday right when I got up, and she'd always be, it's not for another 5 hours here. So, okay. Very good. Solved that. Yeah, you guys, yeah, it's the same. You're in Colorado, correct? I think you and Kenzo are in the same sort of, roughly the same sort of. No, you're not. Never mind. I'm thinking of somebody else. I think. Anyway, we'll just leave it at that. I don't want to dox you. But Kenny is in Colorado, and we all know Kenzo is in Colorado because of. I'm sure by now we've all seen his mattress commercials, right? If not, go follow him on TikTok and watch his mattress commercials. Buy some sheets or some mattresses from him. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good to know. I for some reason was mixing. For a second, was like, wait, I thought maybe it's Missouri, but no. Okay. Good to know. You guys get, much like Chicago, you guys get real snow. And both Chicago and Colorado were on my short list of places I was thinking about moving before I ended up in Oregon. And then people in both places explained the winter to me, and I was like, I'm good. I'll just go to Portland. I mean, we get snow in Oregon, but we don't get it as often, and it's not consistent all over the state. Now that we're closer to the coast, we're not going to get it quite as often. And when we do, it's way less likely to sort of stick. So. See, that's what I kept thinking right now. That's what I kept thinking was that you were still in Missouri for some reason. But, I have a friend, she's in Missouri right now, and she's very much not happy there for probably a lot of the reasons you would not be happy there right now. So, she was talking at one point about, because I met her out here in Oregon. We used to work together. And then she went home to Missouri because for a long time it was cheaper to live there. And she has some family there, so it's a little bit easier. Whereas out here, she was pretty much all on her own other than friends. Which not everyone can do. Like, for whatever reason, have mostly been able to do all right on my own. But there were a few rough spots where I almost went back to the South just because it would have been easier. But I did not, because I would not be anywhere near where I am now in life back in Texas or Louisiana. But, I do miss my family sometimes. I do miss things about home. But overall, I am in the right place where I should be. Yeah, it's sort of like that spite thing. There are a lot of people who tell me I would not succeed up here. And it was stupid to move up to the Pacific Northwest, and I would come home, sort of broken and defeated, and see the error of my ways. So, there were a few times where the going was really tough. And if I hadn't had that bit of spite, I probably would have moved home. But luckily, spite won, so that everything could get good. Let's see. Oh, yeah. The sort of quote unquote long distance commuting can be rough. Matt and I did that for about a year before we finally cohabitated. We weren't quite that far apart, but it was still, you know, it was still a journey, and at times fairly inconvenient and unpleasant. I do not envy that. All right. Nails. Goes through the grody. It's called stink bug. So we'll make his nails stink bug. All right. Now we just have to figure out eyes. I think we will do monstery eyes. To yellow. And go in with some red. I think he is done. Wait. A little yellow on his teeth. There we go. Now he's done. Oh, that looks pretty good. Very nice. Probably Alex. Alex, you should move to Canada. All right, let's see. We've done quite a few pages in here. I mean, nowhere near all of it, but quite a few. And we've got about a little over an hour left. So let us work on Gorilla Grodd. Definitely won't finish this because just the foliage alone. But it'll be fun to work on. And the next time we work on this book on a stream, we'll do that Giganta and Starro page. And then we'll just work until that one's done, and then I'll do one web page where we go through and finish everything I've started in here but not finished. And then I'll pick a new book for us to do on these solo streams. They've been kind of sporadic because I've been, with the holidays, taken some time off. But after the holidays, we should be back to doing at least a single solo stream every month. And yeah. So yeah, I'll find something else. I'll stick it on the community tab and have you guys help me pick what we'll do after I mean, it's still a month or two away from that, but just so you have it in mind, I'll stick something up on the community tab for us to figure out what to work on next. Because I've been working on this one. It'll be a year, I think, in February that I've been doing pages on Sundays. So it's a good time to find something else to have as the primary book. I do know in 2027, if we're all still here, we'll be doing a bunch of Star Wars stuff because 2027 is the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. So there will be Star Wars stuff that year. Just heads up. For 2026, we'll do something else. Yeah, in 2024, I had that Masters of the Universe and a Star Wars coloring book, and those were like my two things. I'm gonna say like that got tedious, just having sort of bouncing between the two. So I won't be doing that again, where there's only like say 2 books. I have liked this last year doing sort of the whip episodes where I go in and finish stuff I started on, even when it's a stream with a guest. When I have somebody back, I don't like them feeling like we have to work on whatever book we were coloring in the last time they were here. So I am trying to finish one of the Barbie and the Rockers coloring books early next year. So there might be a Sunday where I work on some of the pages that aren't done yet from that book so that I can wrap that up. I've been working on pages from that since like 2023 when I first started the channel. One of the first, like my 7th or 8th short I did was a page from that book. So it's kind of time to wrap that one up, I think. And sort of do a history of the I'll do a history of the Barbie and the Rockers video as part of that. Because that is an interesting story about how they managed to get Barbie and the Rockers out before Gem, even though they were ripping off Gem. And this I'm just getting sort of what I want in the background that's going to be green, so that I've got sort of a basic background palette. I'm also going to use a paint pen for the bulk of this wide open space. And so oh, I missed this. Let's see. Definitely I want Debbie Domain Cheetah and Black Orchid. And I want the original Black Orchid. Also, I really want a proper like Teen Titans run. Like I want sort of like Donna Troy, her original sort of Wonder Girl outfit where it was like the eagle with the star shorts. And I want the George Perez costume. But I also want the one in between there where she had like the Falcon medallion. I want some of the Titan villains. Like I really feel like Phobia would be really cool. Like the Hive Queen, the original like Hive, not the second one, where they all had like sort of purple outfits. I'm hoping that, you know, like Mattel. I will say this, like I have a lot of critique about how Scott Netlick ran the Masters of the Universe stuff. And there are things I did not like about how he ran DC Comics, the DC Classics series, but I do like that he was willing to really do some deep dives. And also, Firehawk would be perfect. Crimson Fox would be great. The Silver Sorceress would be great. Like, there are a lot of really cool characters that they could do that, like, would be very toyetic. Like, I think what's interesting about sort of DC Comics is, like, they have sort of all these characters who have never seen an action figure. And I think there's sort of that two layers to it when you do a comic book toy line. Like you have to totally do Wolverine if you're like Marvel or whatever. You have to do Batman. There have to be Batman figures. And I think there are a lot of really sort of obscure characters that you could get away with doing just because they would look really good as action figures. And I think I have some critiques about the last year of Superpowers toys that Kenner put out with all of sort of the made-up characters. But I will say one of the things I did that I do get about sort of the figures they released was, even though it's sort of like, why would you make up these characters? You know, characters like Cyclotron and Golden Pharaoh were still pretty toyetic. Like, we all sort of scratch our head and say, well, why would you do Tier and Wave 3 when you haven't done any Legion of superhero characters? Because Tier is from the Legion of Supervillains. You know, like, it would have made more sense if they had done, like, Cosmic Boy or Lightning Lad or even a Superboy, right? To, like, you know, sort of justify the inclusion of Tier. But he is very toyetic looking, like, whether we like him or not, or think he was a good choice, he looks really cool as an action figure. So I think Kenner understood that. I just think they didn't dig deep enough for that last wave of figures, for actual toyetic action figures from DC. You know, even if it had been more Super Friends toys, you know, Samurai, 100% people know who Samurai is because of the Super Friends cartoon. They had done Black Vulcan and released El Dorado in Wave 3. I completely would feel less like, what were you doing? Than I kind of do when I look at that Wave 3. So I think, you know, hopefully Mattel sort of gets that. And I think they do because, you know, there are a lot of people who are sort of unhappy with the current direction of the sort of Masters of the Universe origin scale, where they're releasing brand new characters and really deep cuts, but not necessarily hitting all of the vintage figures left. But I like that. I like that we're getting really obscure characters that look really cool as action figures. Like, toys should look cool. And so hopefully Mattel will sort of remember that when they're doing the DC stuff, where they grab somebody like Firehawk in her 80s costume, especially that second one with like the that I think she got right before or during Crisis. Like that one is so cool. You know, like Zatanna, like everyone's like, oh, fishnets or whatever. Yeah, but you can do 2 or 3 Zatanna figures because she's actually at this point a big enough character. I want the 80s, like, yeah, that Perez costume that he designed where she has the big, you know, like crab ruby thing on her head. Like, DC has so much potential if you look beyond, like, you know, sort of the comic books with it. If you just take the designs and make a cool toy, I think, you know, you could make a really cool toy line. You know, I would love if they did a proper 1980s Blue Devil, Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, like, you know, like Amethyst had Dark Opal, her main villain would be a really cool toy. You know, she had another villain, Fire Jade, like that would make she would make a cool action figure. It's just sort of interesting to me that, you know, we're definitely going to get a bunch of Batman and a bunch of Superman. But hopefully whoever is in charge at Mattel remembers that there are a lot of characters that would look really cool in plastic. And I think at this point, you know, it's kind of like Marvel Legends, right? You're still getting the Captain America, you're getting Spider-Man, you're getting Wolverine constantly. But Marvel Legends has done a really good job of just getting some really obscure characters who look cool as action figures. So hopefully Mattel looks at what Hasbro has done with Marvel Legends as far as character selection and, like, you know, runs with that for DC and gives us some really cool, unexpected, you know, Crimson Fox, you know, like the Rocket Red, like the Dimitri version from Justice League Europe. Like, there's just so many cool, yeah, and they need to start with that style guide, and just if you're in the style guide, you should be an action figure. Like, point blank, start there. Those versions. I don't care if, like, you know, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman all have different costumes now. Start with those 1980s costumes, and then that way you can do a lot of different versions of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, because you're going to do all the costumes, all the different outfits, all the different incarnations. Superman Red, Superman Blue. Somebody give me a Wonder Woman, you know, Diana, like in her Diana Prince mod outfit where she lost her powers. I thought it would be a cool figure. Like, I need more than just a bunch of, like, sort of her current, you know, leather Xena outfit. Like, where is her bicycle shorts and, like, jacket from the 90s? Like, give me that Wonder Woman as an action figure. We've got options, guys. We've got options. Hello, Heligeek. Welcome. Oh, well, congrats on your gig. We'll have to talk about it when you are here next time. Yeah, that was weird to me. That seemed like a weird pre-sale. Those would be really cool. Eric would be cool. Yeah. See, there are all these really cool options. Moonbow would be really cool. And again, it doesn't matter that she's not been in comics for what, 20 years or whatever. Like, she's got a cool look. We just need cool looking action figures. Yeah, a lot of them, depending on how Mattel makes them, you could do part reuse pretty easy. Also, I need a proper Wonder Woman Girls line done in the scale of She-Ra figures. It's like outfits that you can, like give me a She-Ra line that's actually Wonder Woman and her friends. Like the superhero girl line that they did a few years ago was really close. I've got most of those figures. I think the only one I could never find was Beast Boy because he was part of like some box set. But I've got everyone else in their figure line. And it was just a really cool toy line. I really liked that it was clearly made, like, obviously for kids. But, like, that's what I liked about it, was, like, they took it and they designed it, picked a lot of really cool characters for it. Without caring that, say Bumblebee was heavily featured in that toy line. Even though at that point she'd mostly been forgotten in comics. Again, for a solid 2 or 3 years. I mean, they were bringing her back as part of like the, oh god, what was it? One of the reboots that they did after the New 52. Was it I can't remember what the name. It was after the Convergence thing where it's like all continuity is real again, where it's all back, it's all here. I know they brought her back as part of that, which was kind of around the time they were doing the toy line, so there's probably a little synergy there. But Bumblebee I loved as a kid. I would like a proper Bumblebee action figure, and the Perez costume he redesigned in like 1989 when he did the New Titans Secret Origins issue where they, redefined the post-crisis Teen Titans. Like, I want a Betty Kane Flamebird figure in that ridiculous over-the-top costume he made for her. Give me a Jula Dent, Harlequin, Joker's daughter. Like, I want all the outfits. And just, so many characters and so much goodness. And somebody give me a 12-inch gigantic fashion doll that's meant for like a 6 or 7-inch action figure line so that she can be in scale when her powers are, inactivated. Give me the original Gorilla Girl Giganta from the 40s. Like, you could give us all these characters, Mattel. You could do it. I mean, the original Giganta had blonde hair. Like, red hair Giganta was part of the sort of the Super Friends redesign. When it's funny because she's a Wonder Woman villain, but in the Super Friends, they always sort of. As a kid, I always thought she was Apache Chiefs, because of they had the same power and their origins were tied together. But she was a Wonder Woman villain originally. And that was the first time she had the power to become giant. Like in the comics, she was just super strong ape woman. She didn't have the ability to grow big until Flo Jimenez sort of redefined her in like the early 2000s. It was like 2001, I think, where he gave her made her, gave her the little jungle girl outfit and all the ability to become giant sized. And so, and then she was part of Villainy Inc. That would be a bunch of cool figures like Dr. Poison, Trinity from the originally from the Society of Sin. There was Cyborg Girl. Like they could do her with like a bunch of pink and purple translucent plastic. Like, that would be cool. Anyway, the possibilities are endless, Mattel. And we would love to see all those figures. I think that's where I sort of some of my boredom with like the DC classics started cropping up. Was it felt like there were some really deep cuts, but it also felt very much, I don't know, a lot of it felt really predictable in some ways. I didn't feel as surprised by some of the character choices as we could have been. Also, that same generic, derpy looking female head sculpt that they used was just a curious choice. So, and we know it's not the Horsemen because, like, if you look at the female faces that they do for Mythic and Cosmic Legions, like, those are some really amazing face sculpts. Yeah, like where was Mira? That's a great question. Hello. Kenzo, welcome, welcome.
Bring out the arms. Bring out the arms. Bring out the arms.
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
There we go. Excellent. Welcome. Yep, how is the mattress store? I do, CJ. I have 2 of those. I use them. They are going to be Amazon guards when I do my Motu Origins Wonder Woman. Yeah, I like that name. I forget that they updated him, so which is good because there definitely are a few. Let's say questionable choices. Even back then, it was a little. I know I've mentioned it in streams, but my grandfather grew up on a reservation, and he was not a fan of Apache Chief, so I didn't figure out, of course, until much later. Because he was sort of not. He was white passing enough that he, most people didn't realize. We did because he would have too much to drink and get really difficult to be around and would complain about his time. So, but for the most part, yeah, it was a different. I mean, he grew up he was born in the 30s and during the Great Depression, so he had some issues. And then he went to work at NASA during the 60s and worked with a lot of Germans. So, it wasn't necessarily something he talked a lot about. But he did not care for Apache Chief. base color time. Yeah, they should definitely. Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't think I ever got that far in either of those series. So I have the first wave of Dragonlord figures. I want to get the rest of them. They have, they're closer. I mean, they don't have all of the extra articulation of origins, like they don't bend at the knees or the elbows. But they're not, yeah, they're closer in articulation to sort of vintage Masters of the Universe, but they are interchangeable, so you can like pop the arms and legs off and switch it around between the figures. So they're sort of between vintage Masters of the Universe and Origin. So like they're sort of in between. I also like that they're doing the Galaxy, I think Galaxy Heroes, like a bunch of the knockoff He-Man toys from the 80s are doing some of those. So there's, like I need to buy more stuff from them, but haven't even contemplated my Origins display yet. So until then, I'm trying not to buy anything in that scale other than when new Masters of the Universe Origin stuff came out. So yeah, it would be cool if he slid one in before that finally ends. And I echo this. I like them a lot. I think they're pretty cool. Like, I have the first way. I think on the Big Bad Toy Store they still have some of the early bird kits. The early bird kits came with a cardboard sort of fold out playset of like the Dragon Castle. So at some point I'll get that all set up. I still have to put my Eternia together though. But that's future Allison problems. It was nice though. I put a shelf, got a shelf in progress last week and was able to throw like 4 big boxes away. And I've started sorting through all the Star Wars. So I've got like 1 box that has all the vintage stuff in it. And then 3 boxes with like 1995 through now stuff in it. So I'll need to go through that a bit more. I also need to go and separate out like my Black Series stuff and there was sort of a 5-inch scale Galaxy of Adventures line, so I have a couple of those. So I need to go through and sort of the boxes with all of the Power of the Force through today toy lines. I need to go through there and sort of sort out everything that's not 3 3/4 range, so that can, that'll get its own shelf. Because I don't collect a lot of Black Series other than Leia. I tend to only collect the original 21, from Star Wars. Just because it's a lot, and I don't have. If I was only collecting Star Wars, then it would be different, but I collect too many lines to sort of go all in with Black Series as well. And I'm not even all in with the vintage collection. I don't, like I've got a good vintage collection scale. Jedi Knight Luke from Return of the Jedi, and I don't need 30 different versions of that with slightly different paint scales. So the only figure I buy it like that every time they release a variant of it is Princess Leia. And that's just because that's a focus. If I were to stop collecting, Star Wars overall, I would still collect Princess Leia. If I could only collect, say somebody said, you can only collect one character, it would, I would, even She-Ra and He-Man, all of that would go, it would just be Leia. Because for me, that's kind of where it all started. Like, I had toys before then, but toys weren't cool. They didn't matter to me the same way they did after Star Wars figures, and it was because of Leia. So, in my desert, if I could only have like one toy on the desert aisle, it would be my large size Princess Leia doll. It would be hard, but that is the one, because that was the one that I got her that morning on Easter back in 1979, and that was the best thing ever. So, 1979 was a good year for Star Wars toys. That was the same year I got for my birthday, I got the Death Star playset. I need to set my Death Star up. I've got that set aside. She is, like, all new parts, all new sculpt. It is the best. Like, if you didn't check it out, I did do a Leia retrospective, which has all of the Leia in that costume, and it ends with Vintage Collection. So if you check that one out, because I give sort of the view of her from all angles, and I do talk about the sculpting and the parts of it, but she's an all new sculpt. I think Emily, who was in charge of the Vintage Collection, I think she's left the Vintage Collection for a new toy line, if I understood the Instagram post correctly. But she knocked it out of the park with that Leia face sculpt. Like, it's the best Carrie Fisher reproduction I've ever seen in action figure form. It isn't that original 1978 doll. I never got that one, ironically. I later thought about getting it, but then I was just like, no, I don't. That one I do kind of regret, but I also am surprised that Mattel hasn't done Tila or Man-at-Arms, sort of frozen versions, as part of the cartoon collection. Because they've been really good about redoing any figure that Super 7 made so far. but it's possible because it's a Filmation character that they may not, you know, technically the Filmation stuff is not owned outright by Mattel. So they may not be as concerned about that side of things. I don't have the Hot Toys one. I have one of the Sideshow ones. I looked at that Hot Toys one and I really wanted it. But it also kind of came down to like the price of it. And at the time where it hit, like I was not financially in a place where that amount of money for a toy was feasible or reasonable. It's also weird because even though that is sort of my favorite version of Leia in my main collection, I also didn't feel bad that I missed out on it. Like anytime it's a sort of over $100 item, I don't get FOMO the same way I would if it was just like a $20 figure. I've never figured out why that is, but anything that's sort of made for sort of adult collectors that's higher end, I don't get FOMO over that stuff. I'm always like, it would be really nice to, like, and I mean, now I could not technically, I could afford it now based on sort of how I budget and sort of, like the way my expenses have gone down over time as my salary has gone up. But I've not even sort of looked for it online because I even like now it's secondary prices are probably through the roof. But I've been looking for like vintagey items to pick up to sort of fill in. Because there is that sort of with when I opened that vintage collection Leia, because I finally just opened it like as part of doing, because I planned the video and then she arrived right before we moved. So basically it went right into a box. Because there was just no time to appreciate her. And then I was like, well, I'll open her and I'll do this video. And I finally got to the video like a little over a year later. I also felt really good to open her, but I feel really satisfied now with like that version of her. Like if something better is released in 3 3/4 squares, I'll be cool with it and I'll buy it. But I don't. For a really long time, I would look at sort of Hasbro offerings of that figure and think like they still haven't gotten it right. Like I'm really unsatisfied with what we have. And I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like they finally got it as good as it's gonna get. Yeah, and everyone's mileage will vary with that. I feel like I watched a review where somebody just did not like the new version of her and thought it looked terrible. And that's okay that they're wrong. But they're entitled to their stupid opinion that's wrong. Good for them. But so yeah, I don't know, I feel, and that is sort of what has been happening as I put my collection together and display it. I feel like a lot of what I've been wanting is not stuff that, like, oh, it'd be cool if somebody made this. A lot of what I've been buying, even the last year, has been like, okay, it's time to close up, like finish this collection. Like, I'm missing these 3 items. let's buy those 3 items so that I can have my display and I can be done with, you know, like this. I finished my Knickerbocker Annie collection this year. Like I have the entire line, even like they did a wig, which is one of the most ridiculous things I wanted in 1982, but nonetheless, I wanted that in 82. Did not get it. I have it now. Will I wear it? God, no. But at the same time, like I finally have this thing. I have the complete collection, and it feels really good to be done with that. Like at some point, I'm gonna pick up a couple like extra dolls. I'm gonna rework the hair, make some little costumes so I can do some of her orphan friends from the movie. You know, so I'll do a few customs for it. But even if I don't do that, like I've got a complete Knickerbocker Annie collection. And it feels really good to be done with that. To not find myself at 2 a.m. like looking on eBay for like Annie stuff to like complete the collection or whatever. The collection is complete. And there, you know, a couple like I haven't opened them yet, but I've got Yuri from the reaction Yuri from Tron, which as a kid I didn't get any of the Tron figures because I wanted Yuri. What's the point of getting these toys if the character you want isn't there? And they had, which I never knew about Tron 2.0 until I was researching it for Toy Geeks. But they have Mercury, who is also sort of a lady of Tron. And I got those, and I'm like, I've got, unless, you know, that Super 7, unless the Hasbro Tron Legacy figure of Korra gets released, I feel good. Like, I'm not going to spend as much money as people want for the Playmate Korra. And she's not even very good, to be honest. Like, she has no face. They've got the motorcycle helmet on her. She's not a great figure. So, like, Tron, I've technically got everything I need that's ever been released. So, I don't know. And, like, I found sort of the other day my reboot figures from the 90s. I had what I think her name was Dot and then Hexadecimal, and those are so cool. And there was one other reboot character that I wanted for my lady action figure shelf. So in a couple weeks, I'm gonna go look for her, find her, and buy her. So, and that collection will be complete. So. Yeah. Ba-da-bum. Make that go away. You should do it. Make videos. Like, I say this to you know, I didn't watch a lot of it. My brother did, but I remember liking Hexadecimal. I just remember being a really cool toy. She's got like 3 different faces. Mine is mint on card, right? Not for long. I'm going to be opening her. You know, I'm going to properly display her. But, I don't know. It's really cool to sort of... It's really cool to be able to enjoy all of the stuff that I have been acquiring. Again, all these people were like, you're never going to have it. You'll never have a toy room. It's like, well... about that bitch. So, I don't know. And it's really cool that, you know, I can make videos and share, you know, like, obviously the people who were rude about it, I want them to see how wrong they were. But it's really cool that, like, you guys find this weird nerdy stuff I do interesting and, like, can enjoy the spoils of the misspent fortune all these years. And sort of appreciate sort of what it represents. Like, I don't know. And it's really cool that you guys exist in this world and we get to hang out on the internet and talk about all this nerdy stuff. you know, because for a long time I didn't know anybody who like really collected. Like, I have one sort of ex. Can't quite call him an ex because it was never technically official, but like we would go on toy hunts together and like we go buy comics and we would stay up all night doing like we would customize action figures at the kitchen table. Like it was just, it's the only friend I ever had sort of in my 20s who got it that didn't think I was some weirdo. I mean, he probably thought I was a weirdo, but not in a bad way. So but yeah, so like I don't know. It's cool that you guys exist and that we can hang out on the internet and be weirdos together. I think the world would be happier. Yes, I do. I've got all I have is Montgomery Moose and Dolly the dog in the posable. But that will be corrected either this year or next. Well, not 2025, either in 2026 or 2027. I'm gonna do that. I've got a bunch of the minis as well. Gonna rebuild those. I've got several Care Bear posables, and again, I want to complete that collection and fill those all out. And I want to finish up the miniature, my Care Bears mini. Yeah, like it's all that stuff. Like I don't know. See, me too. Me too. Yeah, like I liked all that stuff. So yeah, I've got Montgomery and Dolly the posable. I think they called them dressable. You know, because they had little outfits you could take on and off. But I'm gonna pick up the rest of those. And they scale fairly well with like Strawberry Shortcake and the Loyal Subjects, Rainbow Bright. So you know, and the Care Bear posable figures are about. I mean, technically they're a little bit shorter than that's. You know, they're not quite 5.5. You know, Strawberry Shortcake and the Rainbow Bright, they're like 5.5. But the Care Bears should be a little shorter because if you watch the cartoons, they were always a little bit shorter than the humans. So, you know, even the kids. So, I'm just gonna at some point when I've finished all these collections and they're all displayed, and have the ultimate like Strawberry Shortcake, Rainbow Bright, Get Along Gang, Care Bears, like the ultimate display of all of those characters hanging out. It shall be magnificent. It's you know, the Care Bear. What's funny about the Care Bears to me is they were very much marketed sort of gender neutral. They still kind of get like, they always got lumped in with like girls' toys. You know, the posable figures anyway, whereas the sort of plushies, a lot of people had the plushies as kids, like. But at some point, Care Bears turned into like Pink Aisle, and it's always interesting to me that, you know, when they were just plushie toys and they were, you know, sort of, that, you know, you find all those on the preschool aisle. And once I started doing the posable figures, then it ended up on the pink aisle with like Barbie and She-Ra, and it was always really interesting. It's the same with Get Along Gang. Like technically very much ended up on kind of like the pink aisle or the preschool aisle. But for the most part, Get Along Gang was pretty gender neutral in my opinion. It just wasn't as hyper masculine, I guess, as He-Man and superhero stuff was at the time. It's really been interesting over the last few years with speaking sort of in the gender toys. All of these sort of buff dudes who are like, I really wish they would do classified gem. I would buy them. And it's just really interesting how, like how many people, how many dudes would buy gem action figures if they scaled with classified. It's like that's a definitely untapped market. But at the same time, like just buy the 12-inch doll. She would fit with your, G.I. Joe Hall of Fame figures. At least as adults, there are still some people who are concerned about the pink versus the blue aisle. Girls' toys versus boy toys. It's like you're an adult. Just buy the toys. Buy all the toys you want and make yourself happy. But I think that would probably be too easy, right? Way too easy. Oh. Oh, I won't see. That makes me sad about the cat because the cat is the one I most obviously the one I would want the most because we have 7 cats and then we have 8 because I got a Hello Kitty doll, and then I could get the Care Bear cousin cat and have a 9th cat because we can't get any more like living, breathing cats at this point because I feel like 7 is sort of the limit. I mean, there are a couple of neighborhood feral cats that we feed, but those are outdoor kitties and they're technically not ours. But it's a different story, y'all. That will be my crazy cat lady channel in a few years. But like sort of some of those Care Bears, like I feel like in general, like nobody has done a proper, like Care Bears come back every couple of years, but it always feels like there's a lot of reinvention. I really, 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 based on Strawberry Shortcake and Rainbow Bright and these mask toys that I have yet to open, I really wish the loyal subjects would get the Care Bear license and do the Care Bear posable figures. Because I feel like of all the toy companies right now, they're sort of the one that gets exactly, sort of the pink aisle redos. Their gem is really amazing. Really looking forward to getting the rest of those. And hopefully they've all sold well enough that we'll get the Misfits. And then a bunch of the unreleased stuff. There we go. You got one of your tree branches, Gorilla Grodd. One of them. I'll get this one in the back. And I guess he's standing on some sort of a branch, or is it the ground? I don't think it's a branch. Okay. Or a log or something. So, let me go in and put the color down for that. Definitely not going to finish this because we've only got like 14 minutes, 14-ish minutes left. So, but I'm going to quickly plot out sort of where the wood is. So that when I do come back to that, I at least have the start of that. No, that's your toe. I'm sorry. You have to fix that. This Gorilla Grodd is like purple, I think. Or maybe he's like brown and purple-ish. To look that out. That's a future Allison problem though, so it's not something to worry about today. Yeah, very good. I need to figure out what color the armor is because I feel like that's like a pink color, but I could be wrong. So I'll have that figured out by next time. And we will wrap it up with me putting Foxy Brown, is the name of this color. Foxy Brown, finish this branch. Oh, hello, Sight Beyond Sight. And just in time.
Bring out the olive. Bring out the olive. Bring out the olive. Bring out the olive. Bring out the olive.
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
There we go. Welcome. All right, let's see. Right. Yeah, I just they just got a bunch of the Origins cartoon collection stuff, like Queen Marlena, then like Wave 2 of the 2000X stuff. So I just ordered a bunch of that. And I'm still waiting for all the gem. I ordered all of the gem and strawberry shortcake and mask. I'm only waiting for the rhino though for mask. So, which is fine because it's the most expensive of all the stuff. I'm not looking forward to that hitting the account. But we shall survive. Because I budgeted for that months ago. Well, I've been working on the budget for that for months because it's kind of spendy. Like, I did have that the one in this economy conversation with myself, but also just the like, you know, like it's a lot of money. But I also went and looked at what the vintage items are going for mint in box, and it's quite a bit. And I just sort of looked at it as like, you know, I've always wanted some mask. Mask was always my brother's toy line when we were kids, so I wasn't technically allowed to. You know, there were some toy lines that was like just for, you know, like we shared a lot of toy lines so that we could conquer it, but some of them were just like he 100% was Mask was him. So it's kind of cool to get those as an adult without having to spend a mint. So, all right, the branch is done. Looks pretty good. Oh my god, yeah. I need to go and make some clips. I have some time budgeted this week where I'm going to work on a bunch of behind the scenes stuff. But stuff like that, because I wanted to do some serial mom stuff, but I realized none of the stuff I would want to clip is really appropriate for the YouTubes, unless I want to get banned. But yeah. Exactly, and that's kind of like sort of the art, because I was like, I don't necessarily want to be all in with anything other than Origins, but they're really cool. So, and it hits a childhood thing, which doesn't happen often for me, but when it does, it does. So, it is what it is. Anyway, so we are almost to 2 hours, so I'm going to go ahead, because I'm not going to get any farther on this today. So we'll go ahead and wrap that up. And really quick, let's go over what I've got coming up for everyone. Find my content. All right, so it is the holiday season. So tomorrow I've got at 9:30 dropping a vintage 2000, because 25 years ago is vintage. Let that sink in, all of y'all. It's a Peanuts Paint with Water Christmas coloring book. So check that out. I do a flip through, and I actually colored all of I scanned it and then printed them out, but it actually has all of the pages in the video, so you can enjoy the entire thing. There's a GoBot short on Tuesday. We've got some Gremlin shorts this week. And then on Friday, there will be a Color and Chill, which is Care Bears, and it's a Christmas themed, which we're kicking off into Christmas content. There will be Christmas shorts every day from the 13th through the 25th, of course. And then, so check those out. And then right now, there is I dropped yesterday. It was a members first video, but it is available to everyone now. It's everything I opened in November. And as I open all these old toys, and some of them are new, I'm going to film most of it. Not all of it. I'm not going to set the camera up every time. But if the camera's set up and I'm opening shit, or I'm opening a bunch of stuff, I'll set the camera up. And film some unboxings for y'all. I'll drop one of those probably about once a month. So check that out if you haven't. I think most of you have, though. Anyway, so all of that is coming out. There's plenty of stuff for you to watch, especially with Christmas coming, and some of y'all will be stuck with family members you can't stand. Come watch me color some stuff. It'll help you stress out and not punch your drunk uncle at Christmas. I mean, or punch him and then watch myself. Whichever works, Like, you do you, boo. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. I thank you all. Don't forget to hit the like. I know you are all subscribed, so we don't have to do that. But if you're a replay person who isn't subscribed, you should subscribe. And with that, I will see you all in the next one. And I'm going to leave you, as I always do, with this burning, most important question since 1984.
I haven't made up my mind yet. Incidentally, which one of you bitches is my mother?